Hello everyone and welcome to What Culture. My name is Jules and I'm joined as ever by Scott, the man,
Hi.
the legend, Tailford. And if you're wondering why these two beautiful men are in front of you today, then I will tell you for why. Because Sony has just done its State of Play, and usually we approach this with a kind of like State of this or State of Nay.
State of Nay.
As you were saying, but this time round it's actually been bloody brilliant. So what we thought we'd do is give our reactions and give you the fresh hot goss right in your ears. Scott, take us away.
I think the biggest thing is clearly the Resident Evil 3 thing. So at the very beginning of the show, they sort of teased that there might be something Resident Evil This Way Comes by having one of these sound effects from the original game's menu underneath the PlayStation bar thing lighting up, which you picked up on, Ben Roy picked up on, and then they immediately segued into Goose Game coming to PS4,
which was a weird transition, to be
a bit of a swerve, but at least we know the Goose Game's coming to PS4. That game will be everywhere, soon enough. But then, we'll jump around all the biggest things in this whole conference, but I think the biggest takeaway is the fact that Project Resistance is Resident Evil 3. So they opened by showing the logo for Project Resistance, which for the longest time Capcom have talked about being this like multiplayer experiment.
Yes.
They weren't very specific about it. They would just say, oh no, you guys can play it at different games conferences and whatever, but we're just going to try this random thing. Turns out that they're the exact same thing though. They opened in the State of Play with some footage of like generic multiplayer stuff, and then just segued, and all of a sudden Jill Valentine's on screen, and it's the exact same game. Project Resistance is the Resident Evil 3 remake, or at least it's its multiplayer component alongside the story stuff.
What made me laugh the most is because they said, the lovely announcer lady said that we're going to now experience some single player from the Resident Evil Resistance, and I was like, I thought that it was a multiplayer only sort of thing. So when it started and we saw this sort of first person perspective of running through different like office blocks and homes and having a sort of Mr. X, which is obviously going to be Nemesis, chasing the unnamed character at this point, I was like, yeah, okay, it looks alright, it looks pretty cool. And then as soon as Jill was the one that rolled out of that fiery corridor at the end, I was like, oh my god, that actually sets up exactly.
It's real.
But what they're doing is, this actually has some ramifications on the story.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who have played Resident Evil 3, you'll know that Jill starts off, there's an explosion, and she basically dives out of the wall, and she like runs down and then finds a little safe house. That's the opening segment. This is now suggesting that this shadowy figure that's chasing her, Nemesis, is the reason why that was happening.
Well,
so she would have actually met Nemesis before she then encounters Nemesis for the first time.
Well, I didn't know. Someone tweeted me after the last time we did a video on this that Nemesis has an origin story that was in the comics, which I haven't dug out yet. But there's more to that quote-unquote character. There's something that he is before he becomes the big old muscle-bound fleshy Nemesis, and they show that in the new trailer. They show a person on an operating table being injected with loads of stuff and mutating to become Nemesis. So there's going to be more to him this time.
If you're to believe the Resident Evil films, then it's that.
There's that too. But I guess they could do some sort of connection between Jill Valentine and whatever Nemesis was before he was Nemesis. Maybe do a save him from himself ending or something.
Nope.
I'm not going to do it, but
the only thing that I really want from this is the fact I want to have those choice system things again, like stand and fight or run. Like I want to be able to fight Nemesis at any given time and get my ass handed to me, but I need to know that I can stop him for a piece of a reward. Because in the original game, I'm pretty sure if you defeated him 4 times, you got the Magnum. It was the butterfly edge or something like that. Samurai edge, I think it was, that you got. But still, there's loads of details to like rip out from that, because we got to see the mercenaries as well. Doesn't mean that we're going to be getting the mercenary mode on top of this, because they might be using resistance as a way of segueing that out, which is a shame, because they clearly proved with the Resident Evil 2 remake that the mercenary mode or fourth survivor mode was definitely something that people were interested in, plus the fact that they get supported with DLC further down.
Well, it's weird because like besides the fact that there's a big Left 4 Dead niche gap just waiting to be filled, they tried this god-awful Umbrella Corps, but at least they tried a sort of multiplayer team deathmatch style Resident Evil, and then they can kind of compound that with like the new stuff, like you said, the mercenary modes, the time trial stuff that they did in the RE2 remake to eventually get to where they were supposed to get for the first time.
But if you're to look at the package that we're potentially getting now with this new information, we'll be getting a fully realised reimagining of the Resident Evil 3 story. We will potentially be getting the mercenary mode that ushered in, which was a fantastic addition to the game, and obviously is something that is still enjoyed today across nearly all the games. and Project Resistance on top. So in terms of the content you're going to get out of this, it stands to be one of the most fully packed Resident Evil games, not even as a remake, just in general.
Overall they've ditched the Nemesis name. It's just Resident Evil 3. The release date is the 3rd of April 2020, which considering RE2 was just in January is a hell of a turnaround.
I was genuinely surprised. I thought they were going to hold off until later on in the year, maybe for some sort of relevant date, but I haven't checked in on whether or not this has got any callbacks, because a lot of people were looking at the times that were showing up, it was rewinding the clock, and 2007 or 2008 came up, and the closest that people could find to it was that it was the year that Operation Raccoon City was released. Great game to tie it to. No one.
They seem to have a kind of renewed confidence for their older stuff, which the 2000s were this massive sort of. Obviously it kicked off in the 90s, but the 2000s were the big resurgence for Resident Evil in terms of the different budgets and how big that franchise got. So I like the fact that they're going back and mining the sort of golden era initially, even if it has resulted in something like Operation Raccoon City, or Dead Aim, or whatever.
We have to remember though that we have only seen, this is all cutscene stuff. There has been no actual in-game footage that has been
they showed
shown.
some stuff of shooting people.
It was the most minor bit that you can, which is always a bit of not a worry, but it's just something that I'm just please show me the actual gameplay. I want to see how you're interacting with this world.
Well, the thing that sticks out with that is that I forget the name of the conference, the showcase that it's going to be at. There's a big Japanese game festival thing at the end of December, and Project Resistance was always confirmed to be there. But now that we know that Project RE is RE3, then assumedly people will just get hands-on with RE3 or the multiplayer only capacity. But it'll show some gameplay. Something that was humongous, which made me pop myself rotten, was Babylon's Fall finally getting some gameplay.
My god, that looks good.
Yes, and it's the new Platinum game, and as much as Astral Chain came out this year, completely overlooked, completely underrated, phenomenal action game from the studio that is just the best action devs on the planet right now. Astral Chain was sort of the new Platinum game for this year, but as far as most people seem to be concerned, Nier Automata was their last big one, 2017, and Babylon's Fall is the thing from Platinum, and they've partnered with Square Enix, so they're only being given more money, more chances to do big, dumb, crazy stuff, and it looks amazing.
I love this sort of fantasy gothic setting, but it also seems to have a sort of techno-inspired thing. Because you look at it and there's lots of very bright, vibrant reds and yellows and even blue, the giant knight that he's fighting towards the end. That is a very, very impressive boss. I know a load of people out there are expecting me to say, oh, is this going to be like Dark Souls? No, it's going to be like Bayonetta. It's going to be like a Platinum Games game, like a Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, whatever it was called. That's the feel it's giving, not the sort of
It's not going to be contemplative and slow and over the shoulder.
It's going to be reactive twitch, go sort of
which is what they do better than anyone else, other than Capcom with GMC5. But Platinum are known for this stuff, and I think pairing it with a budget from Square Enix, maybe some sort of influences, maybe they've been lent some of the staff from Square Enix to do a bigger, more RPG. I mean, it is being advertised as an RPG, so you can have that sort of backbone of narrative and whatever, but with an incredible combat system at the heart of it. I'm so game for it, Jules.
What was very interesting was looking at the actual artwork that they used as the thumbnail, because it actually showed a group of four, and there was the guy that we saw. I had assumed that's the sort of stereotypical average.
Let's call him Jeff.
Jeff Blades. Then we had the big guy, big strong person.
Correct, yep.
And then there were two other figures. One was lithe and on the floor, and one looked like it had fur or some sort of spikes coming out the side of it.
Okay.
I think
I was too busy going oh my god.
I'll have to look at the sort of stencil for that, because it could give suggestions as to how the different play modes are going to be in this game, or maybe that might be a multiplayer element that they've kept quiet.
Maybe. I mean, the thing with Platinum is that every time they do a new flagship action game or whatever, it's okay, what is your new thing this time around? And obviously Nier, it was you could remix your core OSs to make sure that you could specialize in different abilities. Astral Chain, you were controlling the whole thing on the right stick, you were wrapping enemies up, and then using the triggers to do different combos and stuff. And with this, it seems like you're kind of summoning different you're summoning swords and weapons to add to different combo lengths and stuff, which looks kind of cool.
It looked almost like there was a few times where the character was stepping backwards through time, but the attacks were going forward.
Yeah.
So it was kind of is that rewinding time or going so far? It was very
They'd have thought of
interesting
something cool. Like I said, they are the action maestros. They'll have thought of something that the rest of us haven't even thought of.
Dead excited about that.
Yeah. So Babylon's Fall and Resident Evil 3 seem to be the two big ones, but we can run down a handful of other sort of announcements that came. One of them is a new game called Spellbreak. It's a battle royale with different sort of magical powers and stuff. Kind of meh. It's getting a beta in spring next year.
I'm not going to write this game off immediately, but I do think that anyone jumping on the battle royale bandwagon has to be delivering something impressive and different. And I like the fact that this is saying, okay, we are the magic used style. Then we are all as wizard battles sort of thing. That's fine, but I felt that it looked a little bit janky.
I mean, it's early, I guess.
Ish. It was just like, there was a lot of like frames and motions that were suddenly just like jutting into position, and the battles looked so chaotic that I don't know about you, but I genuinely couldn't tell what was going on.
Well, that's true that it was very like, like candy-colored explosions and big spells and stuff. But it's strange. I always have the same thing with Battle Royale and how widespread this like opinion on Battle Royale is. But when a Battle Royale is done well, it just reminds me of every other mode that I could be playing. Because every time I'm engaging with a bunch of like other players and having a back and forth with like guns or spells or whatever, I'm like, well, I could just go play a team deathmatch or whatever and just have this experience. Like, there's no reward in just running for ages, having a tiny encounter, and then running again and having a tiny encounter.
Well, let's talk about something that is completely different than just chucking yourself in, and that was Superliminal.
Superliminal.
Like, this game. Oh, I want this game
at the minute,
now.
Yes, that thing's only scheduled for 2020 in general, but it's all about perspective. The way that they show it off is that they have like the guy walk up to a DualShock 4 in front of him, picks it up as like standard size, and then goes to look at it closer, but it just enlarges the overall object in the world, so when he lets go of it, it's a ginormous thing.
I absolutely love it.
Really weird, and they do a whole bunch of stuff like revealing the game's logo from like around a corner or when you walk up to it, and yeah, it seems like it's like Portal kind of twisted with a whole bunch of other puzzle games.
Portal, Stanley Parable, and there was and what was that other one that was like, it was like a Professor Frink's Funhouse of Wacky Physics or something like that.
I would have said it's a little bit like The Witness. Once you start realizing in The Witness that you can find different shapes in the world itself, it was kind of a bit like that.
But I love the fact that the story seemed like the most, like it had a real hook to it as well, because they were implying that you were dreaming or in this sort of sub-mental space, and that you were far beyond help. You couldn't get back to where you needed to be, so it was kind of trying to solve puzzles and use perspective to try and get out.
I'm all for original ideas, and I think that thing has a great idea. Dreams
has a bit of comedy as well into it, which is pretty cool. But speaking of Dreams,
Dreams has finally got a release date for the 14th of February next year. But the thing is with Dreams, that's been in early access for the longest time. I've had access to that for months. I think a lot of different people have, but eventually they're sort of saying like, okay, we're finally going to push it forward. This is ready for mass consumption.
I love the idea behind Dreams, because it's basically saying we are giving you the tools to finally make your own games out of there. But when they were showing the massive cavalcade of other games that people have made, the sheer variety, I felt personally, was a bit overwhelming.
Right.
I don't think that Dreams is for me, because I've heard stories that it's very, very hard to get.
It just takes ages to make anything of that quality. I think it's fascinating, but yeah.
But in terms of what you can do with it as a sort of like simulator for the immeasurable amount of creativity that is within us all, I feel like that is great. I just feel like there needs to be a bit of direction, maybe.
Yeah, it's in a weird spot, because it's like giving someone like an infinite toolbox, and it's like, okay, make fun. It's like, well, where do I even start?
Somebody told me once that it was like thinking about your place in the universe is similar to this game, because once you start thinking and extrapolating the size and numbers and space, it becomes such an unidentifiable or unrelatable figure that you just go, I can't connect to this now, so therefore I cannot do anything with it. It's like going, hey, you can do anything, and you go, cool.
Yeah, yeah, they kind of have the same thing with Little Big Planet. Like, obviously, those games will find a niche, and there'll be people like Mario Maker style who just devote their lives to making some of the best stuff that you've ever seen.
But Mario Maker was focused. Yes. Mario Maker was like, here's a classic property, and here's what you should be making, and then just be an arsehole with it.
Because but like Dreams, as far as like when I've played it, like I said, I've put like about 5-6 hours in. And I managed to get a guy to like stand there and sort of like wave a little bit, and it's like I put him in a world, and you basically you get there, and I sort of like made a very bland platformer. That was as far as I got. They might have been able to simplify some of the controls, maybe make it so it's easier to get some ideas out there, but the idea of just like, hey, like, the industry isn't making a game you want. Like, I love 3D brawlers with physics. Yeah. So it's like, hey, the industry isn't making the thing you want. Why don't you just go make it yourself? Like, that's great.
And I love that. I think it's just because we don't know where the limits are for it yet, and I think that's going to be the testing ground come February 2020.
Yeah. Some of the other smaller stuff, Paper Beast VR seems to be this new PlayStation exclusive thing that is a bit No Man's Sky if you sort of swap the animals out for paper mache models. Looked fine.
It looked like it was interesting, like a sort of physics-based, like
you can pick them up and stuff.
Herding simulator. Like that, it will definitely appeal to people who are looking for a sort of more chilled puzzle time. I feel like there is definitely a market for that, but I couldn't really sit because there was too many different styles going on. That I was just like, what's your I
think they're kind of going for like a Proteus, like No Man's Sky, like chill kind of vibe. But then for me, some of the animal designs and what you were doing didn't really seem all that charming. It was just kind of like picking them up and dropping them over here and then like poking this one, making some of them fall over.
Pulling
like,
the head off one of them and then just like sprinkling his corpse so his mate could climb a cliff. I was just like, okay.
The weird alien abuse simulator.
Yeah, but that's coming out.
That stuff seemed a bit strange. They had Kingdom Hearts 3 story DLC, which is coming on January the 23rd, so I know Rach will be crying herself to sleep with joy.
Now, this is the thing. Kingdom Hearts 3, it's like an amazing franchise, but just that DLC did nothing for me.
The voice acting is always
so
bad.
And it was just kind of like, you can do new battles, you can do new this. It's like, there is no Disney charm about this whatsoever, which I think was what a lot of people were actually quite keen
True.
on.
It's weird because for as much as Kingdom Hearts 3 was meant to be the end of it, it just wasn't, and it didn't end on necessarily a cliffhanger, but it didn't finish everything off.
But it looks like this is trying to tie something up with Riku or something like that. Like, so I don't know what's going on with the story on that. Like, But I'm sure that fans of the series will get a kick out of it.
Yeah. And already the top guy that's already talked about doing a Kingdom Hearts 4, so it's like, this is just going to keep going. Something else was Predator Hunting Grounds is coming on the 24th of April, which is the follow-up from Friday the 13th.
I'm not going to lie, I thought that looked pretty good.
It looked pretty good. It's a lot more polished than last time.
It looked a bit slow, but I feel like the concept is perfect. I mean, like, why wouldn't you want to be the Predator hunting down humans? The humans actually look like that was the one thing I did actually have a problem with. The humans didn't get a chance to show off what they could do to the Predator. It was so focused on one side that it was like, look how cool this is, look how cool this is. And it's like, that's fine, but give us a little bit.
That's kind of the thing with diametrically opposed multiplayers, is that once you've sold, like Evolve, once you've sold it as being like the monster or like the creature, like in Metal Gear 4's multiplayer when you can play as Snake, no one wants to be the grunts, they want to be the thing that they sold.
Yeah.
And so like that can always kind of stab these games in the back. But Friday the 13th got a nice little following and seemed to turn itself up quite well.
It did fantastically. Like, in terms of like that publishing house actually making that, I was like, fair play. It was very good.
Illphonic is also a great name for a thing.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So they ended on Ghost of Tsushima, which still doesn't have a release date, but they said they're going to do a full trailer on December 12th, so you can check that out in a couple of days. The thing that they showed was very much a teaser. It was just like a platoon of people transporting like a wagon full of goods or whatever, and our main dude at the end of a path just looking down at them in silhouette, draws his sword, throws down like a smoke bomb, cut to the title card.
I mean, you don't need to say any more than that right now. If it's going to show that it's a focused on combat, it's a focus on like using these like badassery that you're maybe a Robin Hood-esque figure trying to rob from the rich and give to the poor. Who knows?
One thing that is worth sort of pointing out is that the way that they advertised it kind of confirms that it's not being delayed until PS5. Like they seem to be rolling it out as one of the last PS4 exclusives.
They did say specifically you will get a lot of time with this next year.
Yes.
So that is maybe either it's going to be a launch title for the PS5 because obviously that's going to be coming out in holiday season of 2020, or it's going to be the last.
Yeah, I think it'll be cross-gen anyway, but I think I'm assuming it'll be like their big game for next year after The Last of Us 2. But yeah, this state of play a hell of a lot more positive than the last one, considering just how much of a tire fire of nothingness the previous one was.
I feel like they're learning from watching like the Nintendo Directs and stuff like that they need to have much more of a balance on giving rather than just being like, hey, here's already what's out.
And just expecting us to care anyway. Like, I mean, I know it's a free thing, obviously, but if they're gonna corral everybody together to watch a live stream of stuff, make sure there's good stuff.
Yep.
And this was a lot of good stuff.
But that's what went down with the state of play. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments section. Are you excited about any of these games? And if so, which ones and why? I hope you have your fantastic day, whatever you are getting up to. If you want to follow us, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 for myself and
at /LP89.
You are damn right you can. Also remember that we are having a stream 6 to 8 p.m. today. So if you've got any questions that you'd like us to answer live on the telly, then you can do so. Just stay tuned to WhatCulture Gaming. But until then, catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.